Hi, I'm Jennifer Lee, Admin Evangelist, and this is How I Solved It. Do you have a need to track an image directly in a Salesforce record instead of in files, but you want your customers to upload that image? Well, this episode is for you. Jenn Taylor will show us her creative solution to do just that. Today, I'm with Jenn Taylor, Solutions Architect at Deep Y Design, based in Salem, Massachusetts. I love meeting Ohana in the same state. Welcome, Jenn, to How I Solved It.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Jenn, share with us how you got involved with Salesforce, because I love hearing everyone's unique stories.
Sure. So I have been in the technology space for a really long time. And about 12 years ago, I made a shift in my career to start working exclusively with nonprofits, which is about when the NPSP was taking off. And so really, my attachment to the space came from client demand, where our clients were asking us to help with this really cool tool. And I realized that it let me, frankly, solve problems faster than I'd been able to with any other toolkit. So I was kind of hooked, and here we are.
Cool. So can you tell us about Deep Y Design and what services you offer to nonprofit organizations?
Sure. Yeah. We are kind of a boutique. We really focus on sort of two core things where most nonprofits that we work with have an accidental admin. I'm sure that's a familiar tale to many. And so we do a lot of training and helping the accidental admins get oriented to how to manage Salesforce in-house. And then we also do a lot of custom work. So where many of our clients get excited about the potential with the Salesforce platform and want to build out something really unique for their program delivery, we come in on that side too.
Great. And what type of advice do you have for admins who are wanting to start off in the nonprofit space?
Oh, wow. There is so much opportunity to do really interesting work and make a real impact. I think getting connected to, there's so many great user organizations in, I think, pretty much every city these days. And online, of course. Trailheads are phenomenal. Just so many resources out there and so many people who are willing to share their knowledge, share their expertise. So I think our main guidance for folks getting into this is don't be afraid to ask questions. People are happy to help.
Yes, very happy to help in this, Ohana. So tell us about the business problem that you're trying to solve for.
Sure. This was a fun one. We get a lot of requests to put a photograph right on the contact page. So not through a file upload, but actually when you open the contact page, there's your participant smiling face staring back at you. And that makes sense because, of course, we work with a lot of organizations that are in the human services space. So they're serving a lot of clients. It's very helpful to have a photo. And there are so many different ways to do that, right? And obviously, getting a photo, uploading it to a rich text file, that's the kind of easiest path. Many of our nonprofits work at a kind of a high volume. So they have, high caseloads, and they use Community's Experience Cloud to create a portal for their clients to have that kind of unique engagement. And so some of the things that we have been playing with are, can we allow an end user, a program participant, to upload their own photo just to files, just like normal, but then have it appear on that contact page without any other work being done by the case manager. So that's what we're solving today. And it offers a lot of fun opportunity to really get to know a little bit about some of the inner workings of files and rich text fields too.
All right. So admins like to see things done in setup. So show us how you solved it.
Happily. All right. So I'm going to first show you the setup of the contact record. This is just an example contact record and an example demo org. You see we've got this big blank photo space here. This is a rich text field that is where we're going to have our photograph. And I also have tucked away down here just a standard text field. And this contains the content version ID of the photo that's being uploaded. So in files, under the hood, actually, what it takes to see this really cool little widget here are several different objects that are under the hood. And the most important ones for automation are content document and content version. And so what we're doing is kind of playing with those ideas to grab the record from here and transfer it automatically over here. So that's the setup on contact, and that's kind of our destination. The next piece that we have is a flow, and a screen flow that actually does all of the heavy lifting. So the idea here is that we're going to prompt the user through Experience Cloud to upload their own photo. And just as a best practice, we always try to make sure that we are getting the information that we expect to get. And so that's what you're going to see here in this flow. So I'm just going to run through it really quickly at a high level, and then we'll dig into a couple of the more interesting pieces. So again, because this is designed to be embedded in an Experience Cloud site, we first need to make sure that we can find the contact that's related to the user who's logged in. So that's what we're doing here. Then we are going to, and we're also asking in this, have they already uploaded their photo? And for this example, I've done some very simple screens that are just conveying some information. But of course, in a real setting, we would probably do something a little bit more robust here. So if we found a record that does have a photo already attached, we're giving one message. If we found a record that doesn't have a photo attached, we're giving another message. And then finally, if we didn't find a record, so an error condition, we're going to actually put that error up on the screen in a nice, polite sort of a way. We're going to prompt the user to upload their photo. We're going to process what the uploader gives us back so that we can grab out that key content version ID that I was just talking about. And then finally, we are going to set the rich text field and save our record. So let's take a look in some detail at some of these. First, finding the related contact record. We are actually using the contact record in our Experience Cloud as what's being passed in. So I'm not going to go into all of the permissions and visibility in Experience Cloud. That's a whole different conversation. But suffice to say, in this environment, we're routing that person straight to their own contact record. That's the only one they can see anyways. So that's what we're using here. Then our decision, just to give a little bit more detail. When we find that contact record, we're asking, does it have a photo? And what we're basing that off of is whether this field that we created in the first step is empty or not. It's just a really simple way to test that out. And so if we got information back from our lookup, but but that field is empty, then we have yes, no photo. If that field is not empty, we have another branch. And then of course, if we did not get anything back, it's a no branch. If we already have the photo, like I said, I'm just printing out, we've received your photo. I think it would be probably nicer of me to show their photo back and let them change it. But again, that's for a different day. This is so simple in what this uploader does, and yet it's so powerful. So I want to spend a little bit more time here because I think this is really where the heart of this solution comes in. So this is just a screen, of course, like any other. And the component that I'm using is the file uploader. So I've just dragged my file uploader into my screen. And in this case, I don't want to ask them any other questions. I just want them to upload their file. Of course, we have to give that a name. I have chosen to limit the accepted formats to the image formats, so JPEG, PNG, and GIF. And then key to this whole user experience is we are taking advantage of not allowing multiple files. So you can actually pick the global constant, false, right? So this is a true or false sort of an option. And with that, we're not letting them upload multiple things. So we know exactly which one is their headshot. I'm going to skip over these for a second. And the last piece here is this is what links up the record that we're on in the Experience Cloud. You'll see that in just a minute when we embed this. But this piece is where we actually do the linking and say, hey, file uploader, this is the contact record that I want you to attach the file to. So we've set up a variable here that receives that input from the Experience Cloud. Now going into the advanced section, and I want to note that I had to do a little bit of digging for this, and I'm still not sure why this is the way it is. So I'm hoping actually someone in the community can explain that to me. But what I found is that to get this to do exactly what I want it to do, I need to actually manually assign the variables. And then you're going to see this whole list up here is repeated again down here. And this is where I say, when you give me those content version IDs back, so once the file's uploaded, Salesforce is going to give us back information so that we can take the next step. And it's going to give us back a list of uploaded files. And that's key to what we want to do next. And so I'm saying, please give me that back in the uploaded CVIDs, which is a collection variable that I set up for this flow. And then finally, I'm refreshing the inputs to incorporate changes elsewhere in the flow. So that's the setup to get this to not only accept the upload and attach it to the correct record, everything up here would do that just fine, but then also give us the information that we need to take that next step into transferring it into the photo rich text field. Because we're getting back a collection variable, even though we've said only one, the structure of the way that these components are designed is always going to give us back a collection anyways, because they need to be designed to accept one or many. And so we are still going to need to process that. And so we're going to loop through the collection. So that's what this is doing. So this is that same uploaded CVIDs collection variable that we got our results back in. For each one, where, there's only one, that's the only way this works. We're going to assign the current value into a single text variable. So I've got just a CVID. It's just a text variable that contains the value from the loop. And then I am doing one more step here. And this is because, again, our destination is not just an uploaded file, but we're actually going to be constructing some HTML to display the file. And we need to know what type of file this is. So I've got my ID in hand. I'm going to go into the content version record, which is where file type is stored. And I'm going to ask it, what type of file is this? So once we upload the file, of course, some processing goes on. And it will be stored, whether it's a JPEG, a GIF, PNG, or any other type of file. So that's it's important to grab this file type so we can have all of the pieces in hand for our next step. The last piece, I'm going to do some assignment. Instead of updating my contact record directly, I'm doing some assignment that sort of sets me up in this flow to expand it a bit later. And so that CVID that we were working on just a second ago, that's just one ID. I just want to store it in that text field. But I also have now a document URL formula. And this is where things get interesting. This is what's going into our rich text field. So the formula looks like this. This is just sort of routine HTML with a little bit of merging going on. We are inserting this into this rich text field. So we're kind of going in under the hood and we're inserting the HTML directly. And so we want it to display as an image, right? So that's what this tag means. And I'm actually explicitly saying I want it to be a 200 by 200 image. So this will constrain that. So if they upload a giant photo of their face, you're still going to have a nice little 200 by 200 thumbnail. The image source. Where on earth does this come from? This is the first part of this is going to vary. This is different. Every organization, with enhanced domains, and my domain is going to be different for everybody. Your files are stored at file.force.com. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that helps us find the right file. And then this is where we say we use that type of file that we pulled in the last step to say we're displaying this as a JPEG or what have you. And finally, this is what tells Salesforce exactly which image to pull. And this goes back to that content version ID from our file upload. So this is the director to the exact version of the file that we just uploaded. So this is in the blog post for copy and paste, but I think it's really important to explain where I got this from, because that is it's a handy tip for any admin to know what's under the hood of a rich text field. So what I did was I went ahead and set up my photo, and then I just dropped an image into the photo field just manually, just like you would do with any other rich text field, right? So I just grabbed a photo and dropped it in and hit save. And then I used Data Loader IO to do an export of this contact record with this photo field in the export. And that looks like this. So this is what's stored under the hood. And so you can actually do this with any rich text field that you need to figure out what the formatting is to be able to do bulk uploads or that sort of thing. And so this is where I got the full URL that I need and where I got the pattern. You can see PNG is stored here. You can see my version ID is stored right here. And I know from having worked with files before that the content ID, at least right now, is a nice to have and not a must have, because the version ID and the content ID are tightly linked. So that's how I got that information. And that comes in super handy if this ever changes or you need to do something new and different. So then back to our flow. The last step is really just go ahead and update that contact that started the record, and we're done. So it's a pretty simple flow when you get right down to it, once you know what some of the pieces and parts are. So then the very last step is to use Experience Builder to display the flow, of course. And so in this case, this is just, again, a sort of a demo environment. This is my contact detail page that I've customized. It is important to note that this is actually an object record page that is currently required to pass the ID of the contact record that we're working on into the flow that we built so that we know which contact to update. So when we use go into our components and drag in a flow, that's all we did to have this appear. And then in our configuration, we just choose the flow that we just built. It's as simple as that. And then this box allows us to pass the record of the record ID of the page that we're sitting on into the variable that we set up in the flow that accepts the input. And that's all there is to it on the Experience Cloud side. Super simple. So you hit publish. The end result is right here. So this is what the end user sees. So the contact record, we've reset the contact record so that there's nothing showing. There's no photo. When I navigate in the community to the contact record, it's prompting me to upload my file. So I'm going to upload a file. When I hit save, it's going to kick off the next steps in my flow. And it's actually going to reload itself to display the next message, which is, I found the contact again, and now we have the information that we're looking for. So we've received your photo. Thank you. Now flipping back over here, to my contact record, we see that not only do we have the file that I uploaded, but there's someone's smiling face staring right back at you. So that's the tour.
That's really great. A very creative solution.
Thank you.
So thank you for showing us how to allow customers to attach a file to a rich text field on a Salesforce record. And I loved how you went through and explained that URL that we're putting in behind the scenes into that rich text field and showing our admins how to get that URL out of Data Loader. This was a great creative solution. I hope it inspires other admins to do something similar at their companies. So thank you for being a guest on How I Solved It.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate the time.
You just saw how Jenn Taylor used Flow to automatically upload an image provided through Experience Cloud into a rich text field of a Salesforce record. Love seeing creative solutions like this. You can always find videos like this at admin.salesforce.com and also by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Salesforce Admins, so you will never miss another episode of How I Solved It. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome admin.